you're gonna interview LeBron and his friends.
LeBron James, King James,
Right?
the legend.
the legend, the
Yes.
goat. Well,
Well, some would say the goat.
I'm sorry, LeBron, but MJ's my goat, man. Do it again, man. We're live.
No, we're back with the Electors podcast. This is episode 5. Today we have Arayla Swan with us today. She's a digital content creator, as well as marketing expert, and we're thankful to have her on. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you for having us.
Thanks for having me.
You're our first official female guest.
Yay.
So this is a lot of pressure.
A lot of
you
pressure.
I know,
A
right?
lot of pressure. A lot of pressure. No, we're just joking with you. We're just joking with you. But we do want to say thank you, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, for coming on and just communicating with us, answering some of our questions, because we think that not only can we help out some young women out there, but anybody else that's looking to network can also network with you, network with us through this experience, right? So
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm honored you guys reached out, and I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
So jump right in. And who is Arayla Swan? And am I saying it right?
Arayla. Yes.
Arayla.
Yes.
Arayla Swan. There
okay,
you
Yes.
I
go.
said it wrong myself.
Yeah.
No, you
Arayla.
said it
Yeah, I
right.
did
You said it right.
Yeah.
I said it wrong.
All
It's
right.
okay. So, I am a multifaceted digital creator. I always say I've lived so many different lives, like, different jobs, different starting over. Like, so I'm just like, I have stories for days. But right now I'm like a digital creator. I focus on lifestyle fashion. And I help businesses like figure out what their social media should be and what that looks like for them. So if they are starting out, if they're already established, like what should they be doing on social media? So, and I'm from the south side of Chicago, got to say that.
Southside.
Yeah, exactly. So that definitely, made me who I am today. And yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
Nice. Okay, so what led you in this direction of wanting to get into digital content creation?
I kind of fell into it. I was like big on social media back in, like, I'm about to age myself, but like MySpace.
Oh yeah,
and, like,
that's how big.
Tag. I don't know if y'all
Love
know
me some
Tag.
MySpace.
Oh man,
Yeah,
those are the days.
so like
Those are the days.
I was on MySpace a lot. I used to do like back then I was like really big into music. I'm still into music. I love music. But I was always following like celebrities and artists on there, and I would always reach out to them and like find out what they're doing. And so that's kind of where it started. When I was in high school, I was a part of this program for Teen People where they handpicked people, and you would get like stuff sent to you. It was actually being an influencer before it was
Before an
before.
influencer?
I was like 16 and 17, and they would send us brand stuff. Like, I remember at the time Avon had like a brand where they would send us like clothes and like jewelry, and we would have to tell them what we thought about it. And we would write it out, fill it out, and then we would get stuff from all kind of people, and then they would have us in the magazine. They would put us, like, they had an issue with us in it. It was crazy. I wish I would have brought that. But then at the last end of it, they had us meet with marketing executives in like downtown Chicago, and they asked us what we thought about everything: shoes, clothes, music, sports. Where do we get our information from? And this was in like 2005, 2004.
Okay, all right.
So that's kind of where it started, honestly. And then from there, it was like Instagram, and then it was Facebook. And then like people would be like, can we send you stuff to wear? And I was like, sure. So then I was just getting stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then people was like, where'd you get that from? Where is this at? Arayla, where can I go for it to eat? So it just kind of happened naturally. And so then it just turned into what it is now. And, social media is so big right now. And it's different than it was 10 years ago.
Oh yeah,
So.
it's way different. So you're like the original OG. You're an OG of
Yeah.
of influencing.
I guess you could say that. Yeah, like my friend is always reminding me. She's like, "Girl, you was an influencer before I was an influencer," and I'm like, "Yeah, I guess so."
I guess so. What was your MySpace song? I gotta know. What was on the page?
I think it was Danny D. Kane. I think it was Showstopper by Danny D. Kane.
Okay, I like me some
Throwback.
Yes,
Throwback.
yes.
Like some
Throwback.
Danny Kane.
You know, and I had my top friends on there.
Yeah,
Had the
top
falling
8.
hearts coming
Yeah.
from
Ooh,
the
the
thing.
Oh, there you go.
You
Yeah.
know, HTML on lock.
There you go.
Yeah.
We were
yeah.
Coding
coders,
on
yo.
lock.
We were
Yeah.
coding.
Didn't even know we were coding.
Nope.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that's
it's true.
funny.
So,
That's funny.
That is pretty cool.
What would you
Think
say
back.
has changed since then until now in the actual like social media game?
I think just definitely a lot more business savvy, and like people are more on top of business stuff now. Back then it was just like, oh, I'm just posting my food and like we chilling. But now it's like, okay, it's very calculated now. Like everything is intentional. You know, hashtags, reels, song choices. Like it's so much more to it now than it was before, which is good and bad. You know, because
Yeah.
I feel like back then it was like more organic. Like it was like, oh, fun. Like I'm posting my shoes.
Right.
But now it's really calculated. You have to be a little bit more intentional and mindful of what you're posting and when you're posting and what you're doing. So definitely that. I mean, it's evolved. Like when Instagram first started, we had like one filter.
Yeah.
And it was just like nothing else on there but pictures. You know,
Yeah.
now we got videos and new songs and different thing, messages, like all kind of stuff. So
Now, would you say that if you are someone that has a small business or if you're an entrepreneur that you almost have to have a social media presence nowadays?
I would say yes and no. It depends on your industry. But if you want to reach new people, you have to have some type of social media, whether it's a Facebook business page, whether it's an Instagram page. You know, I always tell my clients, you have to have something that you can handle. So like if it's just one social media, pick the one that you think you can handle the most. Like if you're just doing it yourself, and then say, okay, I can post once a week, because not everybody can post every day.
True.
If you are starting out and you don't have the budget, you know, to hire somebody, or you just don't have the content, you might just need to post once a week, and that's okay. But just make sure that what you're posting is like quality. It makes sense for what your brand is, and you know, it's a purpose. Don't just post just to post.
So that makes sense.
What is your because I took quality out of the key word that you said was quality. What are your thoughts on quality versus quantity when you're first starting out?
Definitely quality.
Definitely quality.
You know, quantity, it doesn't matter. You could post 6 pictures of something that's blurry. Nobody's gonna connect to that. If you hire a photographer and get 4 photos that are well done, and you post that over the course of a month, like once a week, that goes very far than just like okay photos. Because you guys don't pay attention to okay photos.
Right.
You're gonna be like,
True.
what's going on with their page?
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
just scroll past it. So,
What about for videos? Is it
video.
different for videos?
I feel like it's the same,
The same.
with video. You definitely want to utilize what you have. So I'm not saying to go out and buy a big vlogging camera or anything. If your phone has good settings, you can make that work with what you have. Lighting is important. So I think those things, you can work with what you have. Like I don't think you have to go out and buy or spend a bunch of money, but definitely make it look nice, you
Right.
know? It's different things you can do. Amazon, you can get stuff from Amazon and make it look nice. But yeah, definitely want to still do quality over quantity.
Nice.
Cool.
I agree with that.
Now, I got a good question for you because we're talking about social media and everything. How important is networking through social media nowadays?
It's so important. I think I told you guys earlier that like my career literally the foundation has been networking. Like I like look back on everything and I'm like, networking really got me to where I'm at. Like it's the foundation. So it's very important because you're meeting people from all over the world and you don't even have to travel, you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
Yeah.
You
Send a
connect-
quick message.
Yeah, send a quick message. They found you from somebody sharing it, or they saw on your like on TikTok on your For You page, or on Instagram on the Explore page. So, and then like Facebook, you know, people share stuff all day on Facebook, and my friend told me about you, and they live in another state, you know.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important.
Do you think you need to network in person as well, or do you think somebody can get away with just networking on social media?
I think definitely there's pros and cons to both. I feel like you have to do both at some point. Social media does open it up to um, a lot of different people in different countries and all over the world, but it's also nice to have that in-person connection so you can really see who those people are
Yeah,
and if
true.
that's somebody you even want to
True. Do
work
business
with.
with. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's very true.
Because everybody can sound different on the phone or through an email, but when
True.
you meet that person on face to face, you can see, you can feel the
Yeah,
energy.
you get the vibes.
Yep, you feel
get
the
the
vibes.
vibes.
The
Oh, that's
vibes
true.
not good. No, moving on to the
Yep.
next person.
Yep.
No, that's true. That's very true. For yourself, what is
Mm-hmm.
your goal or your mission behind being an influencer?
For me, it's definitely to inspire people, to encourage people. Like I know when I was starting out, like I didn't have a lot of people who were like mentor. I had a couple mentors that I got later on, like in my 20s. But just to inspire somebody else to continue to do something. Like it's been times where I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna throw in the towel. Like I'm done. I'm about to go work at a corporate job and call it a day."
Mm-hmm.
But people will send me a message like, "Oh, you inspired me. You encouraged me," and so that just kept me going.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just to inspire, encourage people to just do what they want to do, regardless of if it's an influencer, if it's music,
Mm-hmm.
if it's opening up a business. Like just encouraging somebody, to me is just rewarding.
Uh-huh. And I was gonna ask, because we briefly discussed this, but
Mm-hmm.
what is it like when you have your bad days, right?
Mhm.
I mean, we're human,
Yeah,
so you're not always gonna
absolutely.
have good days. But in
Right.
those bad days, your mental space,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, like you said, you have friends that reach out to remind you, like, hey, keep pushing. But on a
Right.
personal level,
Yeah.
talk about how you have to dig a little deeper within
Yeah.
yourself.
It
And
can be rough. Like I think I was telling you guys when we met up earlier that last year was a really really hard year mentally for me.
Mhm.
Like it was just a lot going on last year, personally, professionally. It was just like, what's happening? So for me, it's just really like getting down to like what's important. Like, okay, what can I do right now to
Mhm.
fix my situation?
Mhm.
Do I need to take a break? Because that's important too.
Yeah.
Taking that mental break, self care, really just honing in on that. So I just try to like take a break, hone in on that, write how I'm feeling out. I'm in therapy, so I talk to my therapist
Nice.
and just really just trying to take things day by day. Cause a lot of times we take stuff and we thinking about next week and the month after, December. It's like it's just January. Like
Yeah.
let's just
Just
Yeah,
January.
slow
let's
down just for a little bit.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
just get to. So I try to just take a step back and really just see, okay, what can I do today
Mhm.
that will help me out, and
Mhm.
I'll take a break. Like I'm good for. I'm like, hey, I love y'all, but you might not hear from me for like 2 days. And it's nothing wrong,
Yeah.
I get it. No,
Yeah,
I
you
get it.
need
Yeah.
but I need to
Yeah.
be with myself.
No, I get it.
So
I
I
get
get
it.
by myself. And so I took what I heard you say you had a mentor, and on the
Uh-huh.
show, and even like when we're off the air, we talk about getting a coach or getting a
Yes.
mentor.
Mhm.
So how can you talk about how getting a mentor and a coach maybe changed the game for you? Maybe took you to that next level,
Mhm.
whether it was personally or even in like your social media
Mhm.
business.
Yeah, so funny story. So I've had a couple mentors, like, and they were kind of like, I didn't know they were mentors at first.
Mhm.
So my first, when I was first like getting into like the writing industry, social media, I was trying to do like events. Like I was like, oh, because I do events now, but like I was trying to work with an events company, and I was like, I went for an interview. And she was just like, oh, well, we don't need you, but have you met this person? And I was like, oh, no. What does she do? She's like, oh, she does events. She does red carpet. She
Mm,
has a blog. She has a website. She had all this stuff. I was like, okay, cool.
right.
Connected with her. And then she took me under her wing and she had events. I was helping her with events. I was covering events for her, like reporting about it in her magazine. And so I met so many people and learned so many things from her. And it was like, I was like, oh, okay, like she's doing her own thing. I can do my own thing. And then
Mhm.
a lot of people knew me from working with her. And they're like, oh, yeah, I saw you with her. Like,
Yeah.
I have this coming up. Can you come to this? So it kind of just happened like that. And then like a second person who I would consider a mentor, she was an editor for me when I was working for another magazine. And she was the one that kind of instilled a lot of like, okay, you need to be on time. I think I told you guys about that. You need to be on time. You need to be ready. Like, you don't need to be playing games. And I was just like, okay.
Right. Was it a little intimidating?
It was.
Yeah.
It was because I was just like, oh, I'm excited. And then she like, girl, you need to get it together. Like, chill out
Right.
and be on time. And I was like, okay. So, yeah. So those kind of happened just off like randomly. Like, it wasn't like, oh, this is your mentor. But they've been a part of my journey and a part of my growth. And it helped me. And it's important to have someone there to throw ideas off of, to just kind of learn from.
Definitely.
You know?
Definitely.
So.
Yeah, because we always say this, you can't do it alone.
No.
You know,
Yeah.
you can't do anything alone nowadays. Like,
No.
you have to find a tribe. You have to find a team of people that
Exactly.
want to see you win.
Yep.
You know, and it's you guys help each other win. You know,
Yeah.
but you know, you brought up that being on time thing.
Yeah.
So
we got to get into
yeah,
that.
we got to get into it. So tell everybody, because I'm sure they'd love to hear the story about Neo and how that went.
Okay.
Shout out Neo.
Hey, Neo.
What up, Neo?
So for the magazine that I was working for at the time, my assignment was to go to an event called Glamorama, which was an event that Macy's threw every year, and it mixed fashion and music together. So it was a fashion show with like local designers, and I think different designers that was in Macy's and all over. And then they had a performer artist every year. So this year, Neo was the performer artist. So he performed while the models were on the runway. And I think it was at the Chicago Theater. So my editor was like, okay, Rayla, you're going to the event. You know, this is your biggest event. And you're going to interview Neo. And she's like, it starts at like 5:30. So you need to be there at 5:30 because that's when you are going to interview Neo. And then you'll go to the show. I'm like, cool. So I had made a hair appointment that day for like 11 o'clock, right? So I'm thinking like, oh, I got time. I'll be done by like 2 or 3. Get downtown, you know, and then I'll be settled. No. The hairstylist, I love the hairstylist, but she took forever. I think I got out of there about 4:30. And it was in the south suburbs of Chicago. So it was like at least 30 minutes. And this was a Friday.
Traffic.
Traffic.
So I was like rushing around. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be late. So I got down there and yeah, it was too late.
What time did you get there?
I got there like 5:45.
Oh, 15 minutes.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so I missed the interview spot that I had with Neo. It was like Neo and his art. He had an artist at the time. And so I just went and sat in my seat for the fashion show. And, you know, I was telling you all, I'm like, I always am like, okay, if things don't happen, like that taught me to be on time because I missed out on the opportunity, right? But also sometimes things come around in a different way. And you never know for what reason why that didn't happen that time.
Right. Right.
But it did teach me to be on time because my editor was like, well, I bet you'll be on time next time because you missed out on that interview.
Yeah. No,
So-
Yeah, hopefully everybody tag Neo, and we got to get this
Yes,
interview.
tag
Yeah, we
Neo
gotta
in
make
the
that happen.
comments.
We got to make that
Oh my
happen.
He probably don't even remember that show. I mean, he should remember the show, but yeah. So I always feel like things happen for a reason, but that also told me to be on time. Time is money.
Yeah,
at
it
the end
is.
of the
True.
day,
True.
time is money, and you can't be
Right.
playing around.
You can't be playing around. What was it like sitting in that seat afterward, like the rest of the night?
It was like, oh man, like, cause he's performing, and I'm like, dang, like I could have had an interview
Yeah.
with him, and that could have been published. Like I did get the story I wrote about Glamorama ended up getting published anyway,
Oh, nice.
so that was really nice. But it would have been nice to have that interview with him to accompany the article.
For sure.
But yeah, it was humbling for sure. But again, I just kept it moving. So after that, we went to an after party. Now I'm an intern, so I'm like, I don't know anybody.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know, how old was I? Like 20, maybe 20, something like
20
that.
something,
I didn't know anybody. So I knew one person, and she worked with the magazine. And then we ended up connecting like years later in a full circle moment. That's crazy. But she took me and she introduced me to all of these people. These were like PR people, DJs, radio hosts. Like it was like a room full of people, and I just was meeting people, adding them on Facebook, like
Networking.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
networking. And I didn't know anybody. I'm like, I don't know anybody.
Right.
So that was kind of the start of me just really starting out networking, like me just making the best of a situation.
Yeah.
So,
No. Yeah.
And where did that lead to?
so the lady that I told you I was with, she introduced me to a bunch of people that I'm still connected to this day. She owns an event company, and so she does events on her own. And so, we connected years later, and she's just like, "Oh, I'm always looking for influencers." So now, when she has stuff going on, she's always inviting me. So that was like 20 years ago,
Damn.
but keeping that
Yeah.
communication, keeping that network open, you just never know. You just never know how you would connect with somebody years later. We
True.
so used to like things coming so quick
Right.
overnight. No, that was a relationship that started a long time ago, but it flourished over time.
Mhm.
Keep
So,
what do you say? Keep watering.
No, yeah, you got to keep
Yeah.
watering
You
it.
gotta keep
you know?
watering it.
You plant seeds all over, and you got to water them all as best as you can.
yeah.
But with all of this being said, and given let's say the climate of society right now, where women have an opportunity
Right.
to become whatever they want, do whatever
Exactly.
you want, right? Be a
Yeah.
boss. What advice would you give to young women coming up, right, that want to get into the same field as you, or just want to be young entrepreneurs themselves, and chase whatever dream it is that they have? What do you think about that? What advice would you give?
I would say, this, like I said, this is gonna be cliche, but keep going. Know what you want to do and stick to that. Like, cause people gonna be like, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing that. You could just go be a doctor. You could go be a lawyer. You could do this and that."
Mm-hmm.
But only you know what you want to do.
True.
Only you know what makes you want to wake up every day.
True.
So
True.
just keep going. Don't be afraid to reinvent yourself, because you're gonna live so many. I tell people, we're gonna live different lives. We're gonna live
Yeah.
so many lives. Start over.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know what I want to do, but then I'm gonna try this. Like, don't be afraid to reinvent yourself, and don't be afraid to just keep going when people don't understand your vision, because they're
Right.
not going to understand it, and that's okay. But you know your goal, you know your end goal, and you know what you want to do. So that's my advice, and that can be for anybody, but definitely for women, because I know a lot of times, people discourage women from doing things because
Right.
of society, because of all kind of stuff. But that would be my advice.
No, and that's solid advice, because I think as we grow, you're one person when you're in your teens, you're one person when you're in your 20s,
Exactly.
and then people try to keep. I think 20s is like
Try to box
almost
you
like
in.
the make or break
Yeah.
decade, because
Yep.
people want to keep you where you've been,
Yep.
and then when you try to turn the corner, that's when people that pushback comes,
Yeah.
and then you're like, oh,
Isn't
I
it?
guess I can't do it,
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of women, so I started teaching my daughter how to play chess.
Okay. Nice.
So her question was, why can the queen do whatever she wants on the board and the king can't? So I want to hear what you guys. What would
Wow,
you guys
that's
tell?
a hell of a
'Cause
question
I told her
from her.
something, but I want to see what how you feel about the queen piece. And I know this is off the rip. This is a question
Yeah.
off the rip.
Yeah.
but-
Right,
Yeah.
it's fine.
It's a
but
good one.
yeah,
though. It's-
yeah. What would you tell? Well, you don't have kids yet, but
No,
what
I
would you
don't,
tell
yeah.
your future kids on if you had a daughter? Why the queen piece can do whatever she wants and the king can't?
That's a good question.
It is.
I would say, I would tell them that, without the queen, the foundation is not there. So the queen has to be able to maneuver and get things together. So
Right.
without the queen, the game is not going to be played.
Right.
So
That's good. I like that. What would you?
I
what
don't
would
even
you
know.
say,
What can I
man?
say after that? I mean, when she
Well, she ain't gonna be there for you when your kid, when your daughter's asking.
I'm
So
just
you.
saying, I mean, that was a really good answer.
That's a good one.
Yeah, give me a second because
you need to think
Yeah,
on
you gotta
that.
think about it.
That's a
What
really
I
deep
told
question.
ended up telling mine. I told her kind of similar to what you said, but I told her it's because women have the power to do whatever in real life, not just the board. So you can do whatever it is that you want to do, and women are just as smart as not, if not smarter than men, and that's why the king can only move one piece at a time. Yeah, you still have to protect the king and the board, but if you play the game, people mostly protect the queen because she's so powerful.
Right.
She can do whatever.
Right.
So you're constantly worried about your queen. And when I was explaining it to her, I mean, she's only 11, but it got the wheels turning to make her, at least make her feel like, hey, I can do whatever I want if I want to.
No, I love that. And then it's also like, you know, we work together.
Right.
So that's important too. You know, it's not just about the queen, but
Right.
having that partnership makes it work.
Yeah. So that was cool how it tied that in.
Yeah,
I just had to
it is
ask
cool.
that. 'Cause
No,
it
that was cool, man.
Tied into the advice of younger women.
Yes,
So.
no, I love that. That's like a Twitter quote. You need to tweet that or something.
Yeah.
Tweet that. We'll have you tweet it because you got the power right now. So we're gonna give you. You're gonna have to tweet it and tag us, and we'll
I'll
we'll do
tweet
it,
it and tag you.
There you go.
out. Yeah.
Cool. There you go.
Cool. Oh, that's a great question.
No,
man.
yeah,
That was.
that was a good one. So what would you say has been your, aside from the Neo, because that would have been pretty cool if you did it. What was the coolest marketing experience that you've had so far?
That's a good question. I would say just being able to work with different types of brands. So local brands, small businesses, and then big brands and big companies. I think have the variety is really nice because you can see how things work and see different things. So I'm always just thankful that people think of me. I'm thankful that, you know, people want to, you know, use my influence for their brand and stuff like that. So I think just overall, just having variety and meeting people and just keeping those connections.
Nice.
I think that would be probably, I don't have anything specific, but.
What about the coolest interview?
So the coolest interview would probably be, I told you guys about this, but this was also in the same magazine where I was late to Neo. And she was like, my editor was like, okay. She was like, are you sitting down? And I was like, yeah, what's up? She's like, you're going to interview LeBron and his friends.
LeBron James. King James.
Right?
The legend.
The legend. The GOAT.
Well, some would say the GOAT.
I'm sorry, LeBron, but MJ's my GOAT, man. I'm sorry, bro.
Controversy.
I know.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, you know, at the time, him and his friends had a movie called More Than a Game. If you guys have
Love
not
that
seen
movie.
it, go see
watch
it. It's a
that.
really good movie. And so they were doing like press runs for it. So Chicago was one of the markets that they were doing press runs. So it was his friends, and then his coach and the director of the movie. So they were like, okay, you have 15 minutes to interview them. You're going to this really nice hotel downtown Chicago, meeting them, whatever. So this was my first like interview. I had like a tape recorder, like I was official. It was like the Chicago Tribune was there, like, you know, it was like a really big journalist. So here I am, this intern, and I'm just like. So I got to interview them for 15 minutes, and it was a really cool interview. And the nice thing about it was LeBron came in at the end because he wanted the shine to be on his friends. He didn't want it to be about him because, you know, everybody's going to be like, oh, my gosh, LeBron.
Yeah.
But he wanted it to be about his friends. So he came in after the interview was done with like 5 minutes left, and he just, you know, said hello and, you know, thanked everybody for being there. And that just showed me how he was as a person.
Yeah. He didn't need all the, or he didn't want all the attention.
Yeah, because the story is about him and his friends, but, you know, they have stories too, you know.
Right.
So that was really cool because, like, I got to meet them, and they were really cool. And it's funny because we all actually me and his friends actually all stayed connected via social media.
Oh, cool.
Like, even to this day, like, I'm still friends with some of them on Facebook, Twitter, and they've all went and done, like, amazing things, have families, you know, stuff like that. So it's really cool that, you know, again, networking, like, you know, I wasn't like being like a groupie or nothing. They, you know, initially, thank you for interviewing us. Because, you know, this is their first time being interviewed. So they don't, you know, they're thankful that people are interested in their story.
Well, I was going to ask you too, like, because from some of the interactions, and I haven't had a lot, But the interactions that I have had with like celebrities or anybody that's famous, what I've realized is that the more you act like a fan, the more of a turnoff it is to them.
Yeah.
But if you just treat them like a regular human being,
Right.
Yep.
and you just, just have normal conversation, they appreciate that so much because it seems like everybody's constantly either want something from them or they're just trying to, push and get a picture or a photo or something like that. So would you say that was kind of like how the experience was with them specifically?
Yeah, I think
more laid back.
It was like that. I was just talking to them like I would talk to my friends, obviously professionally because I was working.
Right.
I was still, I was still myself. So I didn't, I think they felt comfortable, with me talking to them. And the funny thing about that too is that they didn't even use my story that I did on this. It got cut from the magazine.
Oh,
man.
But I mean, it was still a great experience.
Yeah,
I still know how things work, and if I ever decide to go back into like the journalism type thing, I have that experience. But again, going back to what I was talking about earlier, networking.
Right.
Never
know where it's gonna lead
you.
you.
Never know where it's gonna
huge.
lead. So it's super important just to hone in those relationships. Just keep in touch with people.
Yeah, sometimes it's simple as a text, right? Just, hey, how you been?
Yep. And being authentic too, not wanting something from someone. Being like, okay, hey, how's it going? You got any other events coming up that I can help promote? Just being authentic about it. Not just, oh, I need something or, just really being authentic.
And that's something that David talked about in episode 4.
Yeah.
Or in not episode 4, episode 3.
Yeah.
That we just dropped, which is for him, one of his purposes now is it's not about being the main one. It's about helping everybody around you, because the more people you help, in turn, when you need, not necessarily help, but if you do need it, hey, people will come because they remember what you did for them.
Yeah, all about giving something or advice or help without any expectation in return. Because I've learned that you tend to disappoint yourself if you try to put an expectation on it. Because you will 100% you're gonna be disappointed.
Yes.
So
yes.
Yeah, that's what I've been.
I feel like we've all been there before in any kind of aspect. It's like, dang, I did this for them, and they didn't do this. Like, well, they don't have to do anything for you,
right?
At the end of the day,
Yeah, they don't owe that to you. So yeah.
All right. So, what would you say? Like, we all obviously have gotten to see how the downtown Aurora area has changed over the last 5 years, right?
Yes.
And now, obviously, you have your hands in it. Right, and you get to see day to day how things are changing as well.
Yeah.
Where do you see downtown Aurora going? Which direction do you see it heading in?
I definitely see it growing. Cause like since I moved to Aurora in 2019, it's grown so much. So I see more expansion. More people getting involved. And just, more like creativity, just like I just see it doing more stuff. And it's important that everybody gets involved. So, no matter if you think, oh, nobody's going to listen to me or I don't know what to do, just volunteer. Come to an event, get involved. Right. That's what I would say.
Dope.
I would say that too. Because I think at 2015, I was saying, I think Aurora was like 15 years out. Before it like actually like kind of takes off.
Yeah.
So I think 2023 we got 7 more years. I think in 7 years it might be a different place downtown.
I agree.
Yeah, and I think also too something that you mentioned how everybody needs to be a part of it.
Yep.
It felt like for a while there were certain groups that were being left out, but now the younger generations have kind of stepped into these powers of responsibility and power, if you will, and can now kind of make the changes or the necessary changes that need to be made.
Right. And I think it's scary to be that first person to be like, oh, I'm about to go to a board meeting, or I'm about to volunteer, or I'm going to, offer my services for something, or, I'm going to be an artist at an event. I know it's hard to be that first person. But it's definitely needed, different walks of life, different people, different ideas, different, creativity, so don't be afraid to have
get involved.
Get involved. Yeah, don't be afraid, because there's stuff out there for everybody.
Right.
So.
Right. And as Malcolm said, hey, you have your hand in the marketing and stuff like that. What's it like for women in the game of influencing and marketing? Do you feel like it's a male dominated sport, or or women, or is it equal, or is it?
I feel like when it comes to influencer marketing, I feel like it is more female dominated. But it's definitely not in favor of minorities. I'm going to say that. And I've been talking about that more on my page. But the pay gap between, like, especially like black women and white women is ridiculous, you know? So, and not to like give that too much thought, but, you know, I will reach out to a brand, let's say, and they say, okay, well, your rate is $1,000 for a post, right? We're going to give you 500. And then I could be like, no, because that's not my price. Or I can negotiate and be like, okay, can we get closer to 1,000, whatever. Right. They'll go to, you know, a white creator and they'll say, okay, cool, we'll do 2,000 off top. So now you're negotiating with them at 2,000, but for me, I was only going to get $500 less than what I asked for.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of that. You know, I have experienced that, and then even back in 2020, you know, everybody was very woke and you know, all this stuff. I got a lot of brands that reached out to me, honestly, and they wanted to work with me. They wanted to send stuff, and I was like, okay, cool, you know. And then now it's crickets. You know, I send them an email follow up. Thank you for sending me those products. I enjoyed them. Let's stay connected. If you guys have any more campaigns, I'm open to working it out. Nothing. So I've seen that more so than anything like in like the last few years, which is kind of disheartening because it's like, you know, you put in a lot of work and time and stuff. So
And is it now? Are we comparing like if it's like an influencer with the same amount of followers as you, if you compare those two as the same, that it's still different?
Yep, it's the same amount of followers, maybe even less.
Wow.
And you know, it happens a lot. Like I know even influencers who have like 20,000 followers and they're still going through the same thing. And it's like, you have 20,000. That's a really good number to have, you know. So it can be challenging.
Yeah, that can be tough.
And I'm sure, kind of like to go back to what you were bringing up earlier about how some days you have bad days.
Yeah.
You know, if you're already having a bad day, and then you go and you meet with somebody and you want to collaborate with them, and then they, you know, lowball you.
Yep.
It can't put you in a good mental space after that. You're like, okay, well, you know.
Yeah, because we know, like, you know, the pay gap in general is different for everyone. Men and women, you know, different demographics. We know that's the thing. So it's just interesting to like actually see it like play out. You're like, dang, like, you know, and then, you know, when you're trying to like make a life for yourself, you're trying to save, you know, you're trying to live, and it's like when you're getting people that are like not really trying to assist in that, it's like, dang, like what's wrong with me, you know? So it can be really hard mentally, and that's why, you know, like I was saying, I take breaks and really just try to, you know, take care of myself, because in any industry it can be, you know, you can have challenges.
There's definitely challenges in all of them.
Yeah.
And then to tie into that, how do you deal with that negative side of the marketing game?
So I just really try to surround myself with people that are positive, but also like real, like, okay, girl, you need to take some time off, or, you know, just trying to surround myself with people that encourage and nourish me, because that's important, you know. In any industry, in any situation, you want to have a good support system. So having that has been super helpful. And then just, you know, knowing that, you know, you know what you want to do, and you have a community that supports and loves you. So, you know, just really honing in on that. That's what keeps it going.
Now, do you think that the negative side of marketing, or just, I guess you could say the what we perceive to be negative things about life, right? When things aren't necessarily going the way that we want them to be. Do you think that they're necessary for life? Because on the other side, we learn to appreciate so much more, right? So these bad moments that you that you have, then
Yeah.
when you get an interview like with LeBron and his friends, you're so much more thankful. You're so much more appreciative of it, and you
Exactly.
can enjoy it and experience it more because you remember what it was like to have the Neo situation happen.
Yes, exactly.
so-
Yes. Yeah, no, definitely. Because I was watching something. It was I think it was a podcast or something. It's a woman named Shannon Boodrum, and she does like she talks about relationships and like different things. And she made a video, and she was like, some days everything is gonna suck. And she was like, it's okay if that day sucks. Like, it's
Yeah.
not always has to be positive. She's like, we always say, oh, it's going to work out. It's going to be better. But she's like, sometimes it's not. And that's okay. You just got to be like, look, that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you have those bad moments, you appreciate the good moments. And not every moment, no matter what you do, no matter how much money you have, no matter, how many followers you have, everything is not going to be always great. And learning that and knowing that will definitely keep you aware and not so like down in the dumps, because you're like, okay, I know that everything's not going to be great, but I also know it's light at the end of the tunnel, and I know myself, and I'm going to keep going. So yeah, it definitely makes you appreciate that. And everybody has that humbling moment, we have all had it. And you be like, dang. You think about it for years later, like, dang, remember when that happened?
Yep.
So, but yeah, keep you on your toes, and nothing can ever be 100% rainbows and butterflies. Like, it's just not.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Can't be that way.
Yeah.
Can't be that way. Do you how do you develop your mindset in order to be as strong as you are to get through those days? Are you reading? Are you just listening to stuff? Or
Yeah, I do a lot of journaling. Like, I write out how I feel. I do read. I'm trying to get back more into it. I used to read all the time, and now I'm just like, oh, one book? Okay. So I'm trying to get back more into reading, but I definitely...
And quick question about
Yeah.
the reading. Is it because we our previous guest, Rome, so
Yeah.
I said to him, I said, one of my issues when I first started, like, taking reading seriously again
Yeah.
was I could read a whole page and not remember anything that I just read.
Okay.
Is that what would happen for you, or no? Was it? Is it
No, I
something
just
different?
I get tired of the book.
Ah, okay.
Like, I'll read to the middle of the book, and I'm like, oh, I'm done with this. But then it's just like, why am I done with this? Like, I picked this book because
Yeah,
I'm
for a
interested in
reason.
whatever,
Yeah,
So it's just like focusing on like the book. So just getting back into that swing of things.
Gotcha.
you what's your book right now?
So I'm actually reading this book. This is kind of like a random book. It's called Tanqueray, and it's the Humans of New York. If you guys familiar with the Humans of New York Facebook.
No.
Oh no.
So they profile people in New York. Like, they meet random people, but they have like really great stories about their life and how they got started. You guys should definitely check them out. It's called Humans of New York. And so the one that they have a book, and the book is about Stephanie Johnson. Her stage name was Tanqueray back in the day, and she was a burlesque dancer, and she just has like so much like information. She was around celebrities, and she made costumes for all of these people, and it's just a story about her life, but she lived like such an interesting life, and she talks about some lessons she learned. And so it's just, I finished it actually in like a day, because it's a small book.
Okay.
But Humans in New York is a really nice thing to see, because it profiles people, just random people in New York walking down the street, and they'll be like, hey, what's your story? And then it grew from that. And it was social media. Like, he just started posting these stories on Facebook, and it kept going viral.
Dang.
That's pretty cool.
So,
Turned it
yeah.
into a book.
Yeah. So I like documentaries. I like stuff like that, because I love to learn, and like history and all that stuff. So that's kind of stuff that I like to like enrich myself with.
Yeah. No.
There you go.
Yeah.
That, no, that's good too though.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Still
everybody's got
learning.
it. Yeah, I mean, we all
Yeah.
have our things that we're interested in, right?
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
So, no, that's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope.
So on this podcast, we like to talk about thinking in decades, not
Okay.
years, not months,
Okay.
not weeks. When it comes to trying to achieve your goals, obviously
Okay.
you can break them down from the decade.
Right.
So what does your next 10 years look like? What is the
Ooh.
goal?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like, do you think you'll still be marketing, or do you think
Um,
or to stay in marketing, maybe be like We might have to book an appointment. You
Right,
know,
right.
Booked and busy.
Talk to my assistant.
Yeah, she's gonna be in a high rise in downtown Chicago somewhere. You know, we're gonna have to take the elevator all the way up to talk to her the next time.
Yeah, Aurelia, there's these 2 guys downstairs. They say they know you.
Yeah.
That's a good way to like think about your life is in decades. I never thought about that because we always like, oh, what's next week? So for me, I would say I would still be in marketing. Hopefully, in a role or in some type of position to help other people like start off and like even more than what I'm doing now. And then maybe even just like consulting for like a big company, helping them with their marketing influencer type thing. Yeah, that's kind of where I see myself. Like, I love New York. Like, New York is my favorite place. So maybe living in New York.
Living in New York.
I love New York.
There you go.
All right.
There you go.
What part of New York would you want to live in?
Probably either Harlem or Brooklyn.
Okay.
Because there's so much culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the energy in New York, if y'all haven't been to New York, it's different.
You better have your Timbs ready.
Yeah, you come home with some Timbs and a big jacket.
Yeah, a puffy jacket.
You are going to see everything and anything. Everything is open. And the energy, like the creative energy is just like unmatched.
Yeah.
You come home and you like, oh, I'm ready to do this. I'm about to be president, you know? So... Yeah,
So that's on my list. I gotta hit New York.
Oh, you've never hit New York?
No, I haven't hit New York yet.
You you're gonna love it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy, it's dirty, but the energy is just like crazy.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't get it until they go and they like, oh, you were right. Like, I get it. So I'm like, okay, I told you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check New York
So
out.
yeah,
New York's
check
a
in
different
when you
beast.
go to New York.
Yeah, check in with who?
Check. No, I'm saying
Oh.
check back.
I was like, man, hold on. Is this like Texas?
No, check back when you go
Mob
to New
ties.
York.
Yeah, you
I
better
want
check
to know.
in, man.
I want to know what
not-
you thought.
Check in.
Not
It's
check
not-
in.
Oh, man.
Check
Not-
back.
Check back.
No, that's
All
funny.
right. That's funny. That was a
That's
good one.
funny. Well, hey, let's end on that. All right.
Yeah.
We wanna.
Well, I
we
got-
wanna
I
thank
got
you
one
guys-
more
Oh, you got
for
one
him.
more.
I got
Oh,
one
I'm
more
sorry.
for him.
I'm sorry.
One more
I'm
for him.
sorry. I'm sorry. My
And this is
apologies.
for the next guest. What
Okay.
would be a question that you would have for our next guest that we could ask?
Okay. In regards to what?
To anything.
What explain a full circle moment that you had in your career or in your life.
Full circle moment
Okay.
Yes.
that you had in your career. So that's for the next one.
Yes.
It's a great
Yes.
question.
That's a really good question.
We'll tag you on it when they answer.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
we'll have to
love
do
that. I'm all about full circle
you
moments.
go.
So
Nice.
All right. Now you're good.
Now I can
Now
do the
you're
outro.
good. We're good. Hit
All
the
right,
outro.
cool. All right. Hey, we want to thank you guys again for tuning in and listening to the Electives
Yes.
podcast. We want to thank the beautiful Aurelia Swan for coming. We really
Yay.
appreciate her and being on the podcast. It means a lot. You know, like I
Definitely,
said, she's
definitely
our
means a
first
lot.
female guest. We're gonna have more guests for you guys
Yes.
coming soon. So with all that being said, thank you. We appreciate
Thank you
it. Peace.
guys.
See you on the next one. Peace.
Bye.